Hello and welcome to Empower Hour. Today's topic is effective storytelling. So, this topic conversation is going to be for hiring managers on how you can tell an effective story about your opening and why it matters and how it can take you or save you rather time and unnecessary stress in the hiring process. And of course, attract ideal talent with confidence and then ultimately, or attract ideal talent with ease and then ultimately hire with confidence. So, that's the end goal. But we start the process of getting there with effective storytelling, hopefully. So, what is an effective story? Well, stories are something that are interesting, right? Stories are compelling, they're intriguing to the listener, and if it is a potential good fit, it lets us know, yes, I want to tune in, I want to hear more. The stories can also let the listener know, you know what, I want to tune out. I'm really bored. How quickly can I get off the phone? Or maybe this sounds really cool, but it's actually just not what I'm looking for right now. So, communication is key, and we can avoid so many unnecessary challenges and frustrations and inefficiencies with effective communication. And that starts with storytelling. So, what are the components of an effective story? An effective story follows or utilizes what I like to call the three C's. So, an effective story is clear, it is concise, and it is compelling to the right audience. If you're speaking with somebody that's potentially interested in what you have to offer. And I find it interesting that hiring managers and recruiters, well, just as we are looking for the candidate to tell a clear, concise, and compelling story about who they've been, who they are, where they've been, what they've done, what they're looking for, and why. Candidates are looking for the same in you. Hiring managers, they want to be able to talk with you for just a couple minutes, or the recruiter, and quickly understand enough about your opening to let them know whether to tune in. Yes, I want to hear more. I'm interested. Or no, what this is actually not what I'm looking for right now. So let's go ahead and get into it. And I'll share some specific examples of effective good storytelling and bad storytelling. And then also we'll talk about how effective storytelling can actually save you time throughout your hiring process. So at the start of before you start your search, you want to have your candidate search, your talent search for your opening. It's key, if you can, to have as much of the details clear in your mind as far as what you want in your candidate profile and why you want it locked in, because otherwise, if that could potentially change, which can later create a recipe for turnover. So, what a candidate is looking for, they want to be able to get a good sense of the company mission, the company culture, of course, your product and or service, the challenges in the opportunity, in the role, what's exciting about the opportunity, the day in the life, and also what you're looking for and why. And so, hiring managers, if you can first articulate first lock all of that in as close as possible to exactly what you want and why before starting your candidate search, and then you can tell that story effectively to your recruiter in a way that is clear, concise, and compelling. Then they can take and share that story with each candidate. And how that is going to save you time is maybe a candidate in speaking with the recruiter learns enough about the opportunity to understand, you know what, this is actually not what I'm looking for in my next step in my career. So they can eliminate themselves from the process. Whereas if the recruiter hasn't had that conversation with the hiring manager, or if the hiring manager doesn't offer a lot of details, then the recruiter has limited information to share with the candidate. So there's not really a way that the candidate and the recruiter can tell if this is a good potential fit. And maybe they decide, okay, let's just go ahead and move forward anyway. And then you, hiring manager, are potentially spending your valuable time interviewing candidates that if they had more details on your opening and they would know that actually it's not a fit. So you can save yourself hours of time interviewing those 30-minute phone screens with candidates that are not going to be an ideal fit by taking time to really tell your effective story to your recruiter upfront. So let's give some examples here. Let's see. I have done. I'll say I've been the most successful in placing candidates, meaning longevity, so lasting candidates that are very happy in the role and they stay with the company for years, even move up within the company. Most of those success stories happen when I've got that really solid communication, effective story from the hiring manager at the start, because then I can hit the ground running and I can really zero in on my search on what that hiring manager is looking for. So those are the conversations where maybe it's just 15 minutes, sometimes it's 20 or 30 minutes, but a little bit of time where the hiring manager is sharing with me the details of the company, a little bit about the product, what they're looking for specifically in their ideal candidate profile, understanding that sometimes, yes, we're going to go a little bit outside of the box maybe, but the closer understanding, the closer picture you can get, really zeroing in on the candidate that checks all of these boxes is our number one candidate. When hiring managers convey that information to me and really paint that clear picture, share an effective story of what they want, then I can go out and hunt for that. And I can also share that with the candidate. And then, when we are clear in sharing what we want, we're much more likely to get it. When we are unclear, there's no way really for the other person that we're speaking with to know if they're a fit and if they're interested. So when you've got the details locked in, those what I like to call foundational details of what you're looking for in your candidate profile and why, and you share that in a way that is specific yet brief, so clear and concise. When you can articulate your story that way, it takes the guesswork out of the search, and it eliminates a lot of unnecessary stress and confusion. So I've had a lot of success in recruiting and placing candidates when I'm working with hiring managers that take the time to understand what it is they want in their profile, really lock that in before reaching out to me, and then taking time to articulate that to me so then I can convey their story with each candidate. I'm sure you all have heard of the game of telephone where, the details get fuzzy, some get left out, some get completely changed as we go. So, hiring manager, if you can take the time to, if the recruiter and the candidate can hear straight from you what it is you're looking for and why, you're much more likely to make a lasting hire. Because sometimes what can happen on the back end, when meaning, let's say you get your what seems like your ideal candidate, you make the offer, they come on board, and if all of the details were not disclosed up front or were unclear, maybe some things were left out, for example, territory size, I hear this one a lot. Well, then, so if the details of the role change once the candidate comes on board, then that's a recipe for turnover. Or maybe they didn't change, but they were not clearly articulated. Then you could have that candidate looking again in a year's time, and that's a bad hire. We don't want that. And I have heard that a lot. Sometimes a candidate will reach out to me, letting me know that they're looking, and I'll see that they've been in their role for only about a year. And a lot of times they've shared that that's exactly the reason. The role after they started is not what they thought it was going to be. And sometimes the territory was not clearly disclosed. And so maybe the hiring manager got that star candidate that they really wanted. Maybe that candidate was a rock star and did a great job for a year, but to have to start the process over again a year later, that's a lot of time and money that the company has now lost, not to mention the opportunity costs that could potentially be lost when you have that disruption to the territory. I also had an opening that I was working on a while back, and this my candidate was going to her final round interview. So she had interviewed. This would have been her fifth interview. So four interviews with the company, including the hiring manager, other members of the leadership team, other members of the team, and of course she'd also spent her time preparing for and researching so that she'd be ready for each step in the interview process. And she lived in the New York City area, which of course was the territory, and the full details of the territory did not come out until just before she was heading to her final interview. And so the manager let me know that the territory also included upstate New York, and she would be traveling 4 hours one way once a week. And so once she heard that, she took herself out of the running. No, that's not actually what I want to be doing. So that was so much time, hours of time wasted. And then I've also had openings, and actually, let me elaborate on that just a little bit. So not only was the candidate's time wasted and the recruiter's time taken, in a fruitless search and having to start all over again. But what about the hiring manager and the other members of the leadership team? That's a lot of time invested in interviewing a candidate and taking up the time of your team members to help in that interview process as well for a now fruitless search and then having to start all over again. So hiring managers, your time is so valuable and you want to be as efficient with it as possible, and you can do that by taking time on the front end to really solidify your story. This is what we want. This is what we're looking for. This is why. Here's the whole story of the role. And again, sometimes things change and sometimes we don't have all of the details. But if you can get as closely as possible to crafting all of the key details about your story, of your opening on the front end, that is going to later save you so much time. And also, key is to be concise. So I always appreciate when a leader will get on the phone with me and share the story of their opening. But you want to be concise and tell the recruiter what they need to know and pretty much only what they need to know. So I'll share a quick example here. I did speak with a VP of a division, big company, and they had gone through a lot of acquisitions. So they had bought up a lot of smaller companies, and so they were still kind of trying to figure out the company culture, understandably. And this VP took a lot of time on the phone with me. 45 minutes into our call, I have to say I still had no clue on what he was looking for in the candidate profile and why. But he did share with me the complete history of the company and all of the other companies they had purchased. And it was just a lot of information. So my head was kind of spinning, and I still didn't have the information that I needed. So that let me know that there was going to be this hiring manager was going to have some self-imposed challenges in filling this role, because if we are unable to articulate this is what we're looking for and this is why, we're not going to be able to find it, because we're going to attract people that don't most of the time we're going to attract people that also don't know what they want, because who would choose to prioritize their time researching, investing their time in interviewing for an opportunity that they don't have a clear picture on what the role entails, what it looks like, and we want to be able to clearly articulate that. So, somebody that might decide to entertain that is probably somebody who also doesn't know what they want, because they're pretty open, if they're open to exploring and investing their time in an opportunity that they don't have a clear picture. So you really want to take some time to have a clear picture of what you want in your candidate profile, but also to be able to in a clear, concise, and compelling way, tell the story of your company. So, and your opening, and the culture, and the day in the life, and a little bit about the products, what you're looking for, and why, so that you can draw towards you with greater ease, attract candidates that want what you have to offer. Let's see what else here. Shared some examples. I think that's probably about it. But always like to say that taking time, it creates time. So sometimes we want to just hurry up and fill an opening. We're excited. We've got to either backfill an opening, or we got to get this product, this division off the ground, and get this thing launched and going. But that can just taking, I encourage you to take a little more time on the front end to really consider what you want in your candidate profile, make sure it makes sense, and then be able to clearly tell your story, because then you're going to save so much time, because you'll be spending time with candidates who want what you have to offer. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope that was helpful. I did hop on a little bit early, so if you are watching the replay and you have a question or a comment, please, you can reach out. My email is amy@troikatalentacquisitions.com, or you can shoot me a note or leave a comment here and I'll follow up with you. I'm a recruiter, and I also am a hiring coach and consultant. So if you're interested in learning more about my training program to helping leaders hire with confidence, reach out. Would love to chat with you about it. And one of the pillars that I teach on is effective storytelling. So thanks so much. I hope that was helpful. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next week.